So I'm going to be Librebooting a ThinkPad in this video, but if you read the title, that probably doesn't make a lot of sense. Hopefully you can get past the irony. I wanted to do this for the experience to know what it was really like to reprogram the BIOS, but I ultimately don't have a purpose for this ThinkPad. But that doesn't mean other people don't, so if you're interested in a Librebooted X220, hit me up in the comments because I'm thinking of maybe giving this one away. Anyway, with that being said, there are a few reasons I believe Libreboot isn't actually worth it anymore going into 2024. So if you're in the Linux space, you may have caught some of the drama around Libreboot and how it relates to the GNU project and the Free Software Foundation. Now to clarify, Libreboot has not been associated with either for years now, but a recent update to Libreboot's microcode policy has started this back and forth with some of the free and open source purists and the lead developer behind Libreboot, Leah Rowe. If you want an in-depth coverage of all the conflict, check out Brody Robertson's video series on the various events. But to summarize, Libreboot announced they would be using proprietary microcode in their ROMs because without it a lot of things were breaking and becoming unusable, which resulted in some angry GNU people making an unpolished fork of Libreboot without the microcode. And now Leah has created her own version of the fork that's up to date and properly maintained. But there were some unpleasantries exchanged throughout this whole process. Now some are saying the GNU people are technically right in that Libreboot is no longer Libre with this microcode, and there are other people saying that using the microcode was the only way forward with the project because it was becoming unusable otherwise. But I'm not really here to make the argument one way or the other because I think this is failing to look at the bigger picture. I have a lot of respect for any developer trying to get the most out of this old hardware, but at the end of the day, that's exactly what it is. It's old hardware. For some people, it's enough, but the amount of people that actually applies to is pretty small and just getting smaller as time goes on because most modern programs are not optimized for the resources of these computers anymore. The moment Libreboot was merged with OS boot and the whole microcode thing started, there was really no meaningful distinction between Libreboot and coreboot, which is what Libreboot is based on. I'm not saying that the GNU people were wrong to make a stink about the microcode thing, but I think this is an example of perfect being the enemy of good enough. I know that there's never going to be an organization strong enough to make free and open source hardware a mainstream thing, but we've made a lot of progress in the last few years with the Linux laptops that have been popping up, and the coreboot project being made possible on something as modern as a 12th gen Intel machine. In some ways, the microcode was supposed to help bring Libreboot to new devices, but the way Libreboot exists right now, it's only going to hit a wall because the improvements it made to coreboot are not possible on modern tech without Libreboot just becoming coreboot. Secondly, I think the pettiness in the Linux and FOSS community makes people uncomfortable, and for good reason. These people make the code that runs on our devices. We saw the same thing happen with Graphene OS, an amazing project with subpar PR due to some stunts of a talented but socially challenged developer. No one is demanding perfection, but a lot of these conflicts probably wouldn't have happened if people just wiped the Cheeto dust off their fingers and sent an email like an adult, rather than bullying each other and confusing users about whose project does what. Lastly, I think the Intel Management Engine and AMD's PSP is more of a boogeyman rather than an actual threat to anyone, the FOSS community included. To clarify, I don't trust these features, and they are pretty much just hardware backdoors, but these are not the attack vectors that are going to ruin someone. If you post on social media, use the same password for everything, communicate over SMS, don't use two-factor authentication, or anything of the sort, they're sooner to download a virus or get hacked by social engineering or script kiddies before the Intel Management Engine is used for anything nefarious. Everyone is still arguing whether proprietary microcode is more dangerous than not having the microcode, which I don't think makes a lick of a difference unless you're trying to brand your software specifically as secure and Libre. The problem is, we don't actually have all the information on Intel's proprietary code, so we don't actually know which one is more secure. I'm still a fan of the coreboot project and the quest for more open software, but if we're only focusing our debate around the same 4 ThinkPads, I don't think it's for me. That's my 2 cents on the whole Libreboot stuff. Once again, if you're interested in this ThinkPad and live in the continental United States, tell me in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.